Hello everyone. Today I will be featuring the upcoming Tier 8 American cruiser, the Wichita. Now, one of the first things you might note here is the fact that I was undetected until I opened fire. And that's something that I will be returning to a lot in this commentary because the concealment on this ship is straight out completely absurd. It's 8.7 km with the full stealth build, which is something I recommend pretty much universally on all cruisers because it's such a powerful tool. So that's with the tier 8 concealment module and the camo and of course the captain perk. Still though, 8.7 is pretty damn insane when you consider that it has access to radar with an 8.5 km range. So the ability to run in and basically spot DDs like this is very powerful. I make a bit of a miscalculation here. I already started switching to AP because I thought my HE volley would finish off the destroyer. Unfortunately, the destroyer survived with a few hundred health. I do switch to AP though, and instantly we can display another one of the strengths of this ship, and that is of course, regardless of the angling of this Cleveland, I'm able to score penetrations, and I even permanently destroyed one of the turrets on that ship. So the Cleveland, which is a light cruiser, the Wichita is one of the heavy cruisers, and that means of course it gets access to that monstrous heavy AP MK21 AP shells that American heavy cruisers have access to, 203mm, and you can pen from quite absurd angles, and of course you're quite a citadel machine against enemy cruisers, as that Indianapolis happily demonstrated for us. So this combination of course of incredible stealth and radar and huge AP power means that this thing is an ambush monster. Now, it doesn't have access to smoke like the Kutuzov, it doesn't have access to heal like the Atago or the Prince Eugen, but that does by no means mean it's a bad ship. The health pool, 37.9k, honestly pretty decent for tier 8. The torpedo belt is practically non-existent, I think it's 4%, but then again, you shouldn't really be expecting much from these low tier cruisers, and as I'm about to demonstrate here, the citadel on this ship is actually very small. At first glance you'd think this is a Baltimore, but it's actually smaller in size than the Baltimore, and the citadel is in fact significantly smaller than the Baltimore citadel. I get caught here full broadside as I'm turning. The Cleveland smartly has AP loaded. He shoots a full broadside volley. It looks like it's going right for my citadel, and I don't think he scored a single citadel there. And that's of course the strength of this very small citadel and the fact that the ship is smaller than you would expect. I think the Cleveland is slightly smaller than this ship is. Actually, yeah, I think the Cleveland is slightly smaller than this ship is, but for a heavy cruiser, this thing is exceptionally small and exceptionally stealthy. Now, putting this kind of extreme concealment on a heavy cruiser obviously means that you almost always get to be the aggressor. You get to pick your fights, you get to wait and calmly, patiently wait for that golden opportunity. As we see here, Cleveland is pushing, I'm waiting, and then just as he starts turning, we shoot out this heavy American AP. Once again, 762 meters per second. The shells are slow, but the incredible pen more than makes up for the slow velocity. I mentioned multiple times that I really like this AP. Once the range is pretty bad, 15.8 km range, so on huge maps like this you can see how limited my range is in actually shooting any of the long range battleships, but considering you pretty much always get to pick your fights because of the concealment, and you can't even get outspotted by destroyers because you can just counter radar them, you just have the opportunity of always disengaging whenever you feel like it and engaging whenever you feel like it. And on a cruiser, especially on a heavy cruiser, this is obviously such a massive advantage. And you saw, maybe you saw there, but if you're running John Doe on your Des Moines, you can use the same captain, not just on the Alaska, but also very well on this ship. In fact, this is my Des Moines captain, my John Doe captain, and the idea, of course, or the huge advantage of running a captain like this on a heavy cruiser is that you get the improved expert loader, which means you can switch ammo type in -75% time, and you can see here he starts turning broadside. I use expert loader to switch from HE to AP in 2 seconds, and once again we get to choose, pick and choose, and punish this guy for giving us this broadside. And this just, it works, the synergy is amazing, and it just works great, and my initial impressions of this ship have been very positive. Now, the HE fire chance is something like 14%, I think. It's not bad, but it's not really that special. But the times when you actually do shoot HE, it's pretty much always at whenever you feel like it. It's you picking the fight, and the fire chance isn't nearly as important in those cases because you don't rely on it. Because, well, once again, here's an example of the stealth. This Atago, these ships, they have no idea that I'm here, because I've snuck all the way from where you saw me shoot at Cleveland. I've sailed all across the middle of the map, and I've been undetected the entire way. There has been no spotting on the entire way. So this Kagero, we can see, is actually pushing to go around the left-hand side of this island, and he has no idea I'm here, because I've never been spotted. So instead of just running into a destroyer that's been undetected, people are running into this cruiser instead. And I mean, if he tries to panic and turn away and smoke or whatever, I'll be able to radar him, but I'm catching him so completely by surprise that I actually don't even need the radar to see him, because he's literally, well, falling into my lap because of my positioning and the stealth. Well, he sees me now and he goes like, oh god, this can't be happening, and he tries to turn away, and the HE, the accuracy, the HE damage is just so much that the next volley would have killed him, but I actually have some help from a friend who kills him off instead. The speed on the ship, nothing too special. It's 35.3, I think that's with the speed flag, so it's a fairly slow cruiser, but it is a heavy cruiser, so kind of expected. I do get spotted, the Salem jumps me as I try to farm the battleship, so what do? I stop firing. And once again, with the help of the concealment, it's so very easy for me to turn in, dodge the shells, stop firing, get undetected, and reposition. This is an example of a high tier match. I don't want to fight a fair fight against the Salem 1 versus 1. The Salem will crush me, he will absolutely eat me alive. So why would I? I'm just going to reposition and take a better fight. Take another fight. And that's what you can do. When you have the... People underestimate how important the concealment advantage on a cruiser is. It always allows you to pick the fight. And when you can pick the fight, you can always pick an advantageous situation. And many cruiser fights come down to who's got the broadside of the other, who's able to ambush the other. That's what decides the fight, not necessarily some stat points or whatever. It's positioning and advantages like this. I do have to point out one thing as well. He did lay a smoke. The smoke firing penalty on the ship is actually only 6.3 kilometers. So the Wichita can use smokes very effectively, because 6.3 km is an insanely small smoke firing penalty for a ship like this. But here we see, I'm going around. The idea is, of course, to flank the Salem. I want to pick fights that favor me. I don't want to pick fights that favor him. Nose to nose in the open, Salem's DPM will crush me. He has heal, he has everything. But if I can get around his side, why not? I'm about to radar to get vision, but there's no need because someone else spots him. And, of course, I'm going to use the Cossack as a bait. I'm slowing down a bit, letting the Cossack go out. I want my Salem to see the Cossack, and I want the Salem to turn to dodge the torps coming from the Cossack. That's the plan here. And we're slowed down. Let the Salem commit fully to the turn. There we go, he's fully committed. And he's turning for the torps that, well, the Cossack launched him very early. So it would be nice if he had his smoke available now. But the ambush works out perfectly. The Salem has no idea. And that heavy American AP that we know and love just absolutely demolishes him. And of course, when you use John Doe with the expert marksman plus the already fast turret traverse, brawling against this thing is not fun. He can't outturn my turrets. These have a 25.7 second turret traverse, so he has no chance of outturning my turrets, and with another volley of citadels, I easily kill him off. The AA on this ship, if you build AFT and the range mod, once again, my Des Moines captain, you actually have really good AA for tier 8. You get a 7.2 km aura and a 5.1 km aura, both of which are incredibly powerful. So, great against destroyers, great against cruisers. It can pick and choose its fights, so it does quite well against battleships as well. The armor is 27mm, so I can easily push in nose in against this battleship. Like if a Bismarck shoots 380mm, 27mm armor can bounce it as long as you angle. It doesn't get overmatched. So good armor, small citadel, great concealment, very good firepower, and once again, I'm picking and choosing my fight. I'm waiting for the optimal moment when the Hindenburg starts giving broadside. And once again, thanks to the stealth, I'm able to pick and choose my engagement. The Hindenburg turns a bit more than I expected, so the first volley misses, and the next volley goes out instead. And you might consider, well, it's a Hindenburg, like, I'm not going to do too much damage, but heavy American AP has no issues citadeling him, just like you citadel all other cruisers. And then we stick to AP. because, well, improved pen angles, heavy AP, battleship isn't really any issue for us. We can do good damage to him as well. See if we can maybe get this kill. No chance. This game is about to end, but you saw some examples of where you're top tier and one low tier, and my initial impressions of the ship, it's very strong, maybe too strong. I played too few games to make that claim, but it seems like an absolute monster in the making. I hope you enjoyed this preview, and I will talk to you guys later.